Welcome to this deep dive into sensory response, the living system's reaction. Today, we're jumping right into what I like to call the master biological algorithm of life. We're talking about how organisms interact with their world to survive. It's not magic, even though it feels like it sometimes. It's actually highly evolved, incredibly precise biological machinery. So let's kick things off with a fascinating question to really get our minds working on how living things process changes, both internally and externally. Just think about it for a second. How exactly does a plant, which obviously doesn't have a brain or a central nervous system like we do, how does it know which way is up so its stems grow toward the sky? And on the flip side, how does your own deeply complex body know exactly when it needs water, practically forcing you to go grab a glass from the kitchen?
That brings us to Section 1, the Master Survival Circuit. Let's break this down.
You see, organisms utilize these amazing physiological sensors to process change. Whether those changes are happening deep inside their bodies or outside in their surrounding environment, these sensors are constantly, and I mean literally constantly, monitoring the situation. When a shift is detected, it triggers localized behaviors that directly boost the organism's survival potential. It's basically a built-in biological alarm system tied directly to life-saving action.
And this creates a universal pathway. It's a simple, elegant, and totally foolproof algorithm for survival. Step 1. A stimulus is introduced. Step 2. A physiological sensor detects it. And Step 3. That sensor instantly triggers a specific, actionable response. Literally, every single behavior we're going to look at today follows this exact, automated biological blueprint. Stimulus, sensor, response. All right, moving into Section 2, internal versus external stimuli. Now, it's wild to see how this universal pathway maps across entirely different domains. Take a look at an external stimulus, like sunlight. That light causes a plant's cells to act as sensors, physically bending the stem toward the light source, which is a process called phototropism. But then internally, a drop in your own fluid volume acts as a stimulus. Your system's sensors detect this dehydration and immediately trigger thirst. It's a clear map of the exact same survival algorithm, stimulus to sensor to response, just completely different triggers.
What's truly amazing about these internal stimuli is how our bodies manage them entirely without our conscious permission. Seriously, they are sensory cues generated directly inside your own systems. A microscopic dip in blood sugar or fluid volume is instantly translated into a feeling you absolutely cannot ignore, like intense hunger or thirst. It is pure survival, driving your behavior from the inside out.
Let's shift gears to Section 3, quiet responses in flora.
We touched on it a second ago, but this brings us fully to phototropism. When an external light source acts as a signal, it triggers the plant cells to elongate at completely different rates. This differential growth literally bends the plant stem, tilting it directly toward the light vector to maximize photosynthesis. It is a slow, quiet movement, sure, but it is an incredibly dynamic and essential survival response. Similarly, let's look at geotropism, which is also known as gravitropism. In this case, the environmental signal, the stimulus, is actually gravity itself. Plants use this powerful, invisible force to activate their sensor response pathway, sending their roots tracking downward into the earth. This vital response locks their anchor specks firmly in the soil and allows them to tap into deep, underground water lines. It's just brilliant engineering. Finally, Section 4, teaching the system. When bringing these concepts into the classroom to help students understand that organisms respond to internal or external stimuli, instruction really should be carefully scaffolded. You want to start with something obvious to grab their attention, right? Like highly visible animal behaviors. A perfect example is observing pill bugs actively moving toward damp areas. It is a clear external stimulus with an immediate, easily observable response. Once students grasp that basic concept, you can scaffold up to the quieter, more complex chemical responses we just talked about, like phototropism and geotropism in plants. The response might be harder to see with the naked eye, but the underlying biological machinery is exactly the same. So I want to leave you with this thought as we wrap up our analysis of these behavioral responses today. As you sit here listening, how many invisible stimulus to sensor to response loops is your own body running at this exact moment just to keep you focused and alive? From your pupils adjusting to the ambient light, to your body silently managing your blood sugar, you are a walking, breathing masterpiece of behavioral response networks.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep observing the amazing biological world around you.